Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's Lucas from No Code Buffs, and today let's take a look at how we can use the Responses API in Bubble.io with streaming, right? So streaming is a technique that we can show chunks of the response to the user before the response is actually 100% ready, right? So this increases user experience as the user doesn't have to wait for the complete response output to be ready before it starts seeing something, right? And so this is also used to decrease the user's perception of the time it takes to get a response back. And this is exactly what OpenAI uses on their ChatGPT interface, right? So if we ask something like, what is no code? They will stream the text instead of waiting for the text to be ready to display everything. Okay, so let's take a look at how we can do this in Bubble.io. So the first thing that I want to do is to come here to platform.openai.com and find the Responses API documentation. We can come here to text input and we can copy this curl example request, okay? Now let's take this to Bubble and configure this API call on the API connector. If you don't have the API connector, you can add a plugin and essentially download the API connector. It is the first option, and then you can set up your API calls, okay? So I have already set up or initialized an API for OpenAI. And so here I have the shared headers, authorization, and content type, which will be essentially used by any OpenAI call that we make. And so to start another call using curl, which I find it is the easiest way to import a call to Bubble.io, is simply by clicking here, import another call. We can paste here the curl example request and click import. As I've mentioned, we have already set up the headers, so we can exclude this. And so what we can configure here are a couple of things first. So we can choose use as action. So we can use this call in a workflow inside Bubble.io. We can name this to Response API stream. And the data type will change from JSON to stream, okay? Now we can set up a couple of variables here so we can use this dynamically inside the workflows as well. We can do that by using these brackets. And this will create keys here that we can edit the value. Either we can edit here and leave it private, or we can uncheck to view this value here inside the workflow. So for model, I will keep this in here private. And for the prompt, I will actually change this to prompt, okay? So the next thing that we'll do is to add another variable here, which is stream, and we'll set this equal to true, okay? Now let's initialize this call. So the prompt could be something like, what is no code and how is it related to AI? So don't forget the quotes around the prompt. And now I believe we can initialize this Response API stream call. So we get the response back, and we have here a series of events. And we can take a look at this response.outputText.delta. And if we look at delta, we'll see here that we have our response on this variable. So what we want to do here is to click here on this icon and select push text to stream, right? So as the output is forming, it will push the chunks of text to this variable, okay? And here on the response field, we can name whatever we want, but I'll keep this at text stream. So essentially we'll create, a type called text stream, okay? So we can save this. Now let's take a look at our design editor. I've set up here a really quick multi-line input with an AI button. We can rename this to AI stream call. And so we can edit the workflow for this button and find the OpenAI Response API stream, okay? Now our prompt here will be whatever we have on the multi-line input, and we want to make sure that it is formatted as JSON safe, which will put the quotes around the prompt and make sure that it is properly formatted, even if the user includes quotes on their prompts, okay? So after we have this call ready, we will get a stream of text that we have to capture, right? So what we can do here is to find a group and add the text stream as its type of content. Okay, so you'll see here the text stream. And on the workflow, what we want to do is to display the text stream in the group, in our case, group body, and then the data to display would be result1 text stream, okay? And now here on our text that we'll see the response, instead of being web search, which is the page name custom state, this will essentially be the parents group text stream text so far, okay? And on the workflow, now, if we actually want to save this text stream or actually save the output text, what we can do here, I'm going to save on the current user just as an example. Let's do make changes to thing, current user. I have an output here called response output. And what we can do here is to save the result of step 1 text stream full text. Okay. So now in one variable here, let me change the color just so we can highlight this. We have the text stream. And then on this other text here, let's see the current user's response output, which is the final text output we get from the response call. Okay, so let's test this implementation of streaming to see if we actually get streaming back. So let's ask something like, what is no code? And then AI stream call. And in a second, we should be able to see the text streaming down below. Perfect. There we go. So we see the text streaming. And here, after the response finalizes, we're writing the output entirely to the current user's response output that we can see here, right? So let's try asking something else. So how do you see bubble.io in the vibe coding era, for example? That's an interesting one. Let's see. So the final output, it's still the same. It will only rewrite this after this call is finished, okay? So we finish streaming and then we save the value, the final value here on the user, right? So Bubble is well positioned for the current no-code, low-code, especially for rapid MVPs and internal tools. It is not a complete replacement for traditional coding, but it is a powerful complement in the era of visual development and citizen developers. Interesting what Bubble brings to the vibe coding era, where Bubble excels, constraints and trade-offs. Perfect. Okay, so I just wanted to demonstrate how to use streaming era applications. You can use this to reduce the perception that it takes for a call to answer, especially if we have really long calls with long prompts. So this is a really good technique that you can use in your Bubble applications, okay? So if you haven't done so, you should check out my community, which is called No Code Buffs. It is essentially a place for no-code developers and solopreneurs who are using no code and AI every day to bring ideas to life, okay? So if you want to have access to me, answering any questions that you have, I'll see you inside, okay? So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.